Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sarma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sarma Bandho Mui Savanara Mate Bandho Mui Savanara Mate Yahara Prasare Vai He Baba Toriya Yahara Prasare Vai He Baba Toriya Krishna Prapti Hoy Hoy Te Krishna Prapti Hoy Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya Arna Koriyo Mane Asha Arna Koriyo Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Utama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Utama Gati Ke Prasare Pure Sarva Asha He prasare pure sarva asha. Sakarana diloye janme janme prabhu se. Sakarana diloye janme janme prabhu se. Divya Nire Pokasito Divya Nire Pokasito Prema Bhakti Ahoite Avidya Vinasayate Prema Bhakti Ahoite Avidya Vinasayate Eligaya Haracharito Eligaya Haracharito Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Paramajanara Bandhu Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Paramajanara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokena Lokera Jivana Aha Prabhu Koya Raya Dehomore Parachaya Aha Prabhu Koya Raya Dehomore Parachaya Eveya Dusitu Purvana Eveya Dusitu Purvana Aha Prabhu Kaya Raya Dehomare Parachaya Aha Prabhu Kaya Raya Dehomare Parachaya Eveya Jugutu Purvana Prabhupada Bhatita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Bhatita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvise Sasunyavadi Pasutare Sadarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama Krishna Yadava Yadava Hare 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 Rama Krishna Yadava Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Simarusudam Gopal Govinda Ram Simarusudam Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Saratan Bhaktaraguna Shri Saratan Bhaktaraguna Jiva Gopala Bhaktaraguna Jiva Gopala Bhaktaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hello. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Whoa! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Radha, Samasundar Radha, Samasundar Radha. Jaya Radha, Samasundar Radha, Samasundar Radha. Haribo, 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 Nitaya Haribo. Haribo, 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 Nitaya Haribo. Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parudikacharya Ashtotartha Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin ki jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Baba Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktabinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Ganga Mahi ki jai. Yamuna Mahi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. And Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Shri Shri Radhe Shyam Ki Jai. So reading from Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 8, text number 6. Sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madhai. And similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers. But such difficulties are gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. Prahlad Maharaj suffered greatly, but still he never forgot the lotus feet of the Lord. That is because a pure devotee of the Lord is so purified in his heart that he cannot leave the shelter of Lord Krishna in any circumstances. There is no self-interest in such service. The process of culturing knowledge by the Gyanis or the bodily gymnastics by the yogis are ultimately given up by the respective performers. But a devotee of the Lord cannot give up the service of the Lord, for he is ordered by his spiritual master. Pure devotees like Narad and Nityananda Prabhu take up the order of the spiritual master as the sustenance of life. They do not mind what becomes of the future of their lives. They take the matter very seriously as the order comes from the higher authority, from the representative of the Lord, or from the Lord himself. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So tomorrow will be Ekadashi day. Sunday will be the first day for voting. First Sunday for voting. There will be 3 voting days, 3 consecutive Sundays. Today's class will be given by Dravida Prabhu, and here are the devotees who have assisted their Guru in dressing the deities. Shri Shri Radhe Shyam were dressed by Mother Nanda, Chota Radhe Shyam by Mother Leela, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram by Mother Jayanti, Chota Krishna Balaram, Mother Guru Prasad, Shri Shri Gaurnitai by Mother Ashta Sakhi, Chota Gaurnitai, Mother Ekadashi Vrata, and the Gurus and Lord Nishingadev by Krishna Kripa Mori Prabhu.
I need controls. Thank you, sir. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaranhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaranhari Yashodanandana Vajajana Rangana Yashodanandana Vajajana Rangana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Rangana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Rangana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jai Mr. Pad Paramahamsa Paritikacharya Ashtotar Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paritikacharya Ashtotar Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Go ahead. What is it? What does it say? What am I supposed to say before I start? Okay. So before we begin, I just wanted us to appreciate how fortunate we are, out of all the people in this part of the world, to be able to just sit here and see these beautiful deities and chant that wonderful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, meditating on Krishna and Vrindavan. Just try to appreciate how rare a treasure it is to be able to do that. And those listening on the internet also. Somehow I was thinking of that as we were singing. Okay, Narayana Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudiriyet Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, unto Srila Prabhupada, the inspirer, and unto His Holiness Hridyananda Das Goswami and His Grace Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, the translators and commentators on this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nashta Prayasha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktim Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service unto the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. And I'd also like to welcome our first-time guests. Thank you very much for attending. This is one of the 5 most important parts of devotional service according to Rupa Goswami, and that is attending Srimad Bhagavatam class daily, so amongst devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 18th day of September 2014 in Alachua, Florida, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summum Bonum, Chapter 49, Akrura's mission in Hastinapur, and we'll read text 26 to the end of the chapter. Dhritarashtra Vacha Yata Vadanti Kalyanim Yata Vadati Kalyanim Vachang Danapate Bhavan Tatanayana Tripyami Martyak Prapya Yatamritam. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Yata Vadati Kalyanim Vachang Danapate Bhavan Tatanayana Tripyami Martyak Prapya Yatamritam. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Yata Vadati Kalyanim Vachang Danapate Bhavan Tatanayana Tripyami Martyak Prapya Yatamritam. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Yata Vadati Kalyanim Vacham Danapate Bhavan Chipyami Martyak Prapya Yatamritam. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Yata Vadati Kalyanim Vacham Danapate Bhavan Tathanayana Tripyami Martyak Prapya Yatamritam. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Yata Vadati Kalyanim Vacham Danapate Bhavan Yan Tripyami. Ladies? Dacha Yani Vanapate bhavan Tatanayana tripyami Matya prapya hitamritam Dhritarashtra hovacha Yata vadati kalyanim Vacham danapate bhavan Tatanayana tripyami Matyak prapya yatamritam. All right, I'm just going to read through the synonyms. You can read along. Dhritarashtra uvacha, Dhritarashtra said, Yata, as, vadati, speak, kalyanim, auspicious, vacham, words, dana, of charity, pate, O master, bhavan, you, tata, so, anaya, by this, natripyami, I am not satiated, martyaha, a mortal, prapya, attaining, yata, as if, amritam, the nectar of immortality. Translation. Dhritarashtra said, O master of charity, I can never be satiated while hearing your auspicious words. Indeed, I am like a mortal who has obtained the nectar of the gods. Purport. In the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Dhritarashtra was in fact proud and felt he already knew everything Akrura was speaking. But to maintain diplomatic gravity, he spoke as a saintly gentleman. Next verse. Tatapi sunrita saumya vidina stiyate chale putranuraga vishame vidyut saudhamani yata. Even so, gentle Akrura, because my unsteady heart is prejudiced by affection for my sons, these pleasing words of yours cannot remain fixed there, just as lightning cannot remain fixed in a cloud. I'm sorry, we can chant these together. Ishwarasya vidhim kolnu vidunot anyatapaman bhumir bharavataraya yovatirno yadokule. Who can defy the injunctions of the Supreme Lord, who has now descended in the Yadu dynasty to diminish the earth's burden? Purport. Naturally, we would like to ask Dhritarashtra, if you know all this, why don't you behave properly? Of course, this is exactly Dhritarashtra's point. He feels that since events have already been set in motion, he is helpless to change them. In fact, events have been set in motion by his attachment and sinful propensities, and therefore he should have taken responsibility for his own acts. Lord Krishna clearly states in the Bhagavad Gita 5:15, Nadate kaschitit papam. The Supreme Lord does not accept responsibility for anyone's sinful activities. It is a dangerous policy to claim that we are acting improperly because of destiny or fate. We should take up Krishna consciousness seriously and create an auspicious future for ourselves and our associates. Finally, one may argue that, after all, Dhritarashtra is involved in the Lord's pastimes and is actually his eternal associate. In answer to this, we may say that the Lord's pastimes are not only entertaining, but also didactic. That means they give a lesson. And the lesson here is that Dhritarashtra should have acted properly. This is what the Lord wanted to teach. Dhritarashtra claims that Krishna came to relieve the burden of the earth, but the earth's burden is precisely the improper behavior of its inhabitants. So let us take the lesson the Lord wants to teach here and be instructed for our benefit. Yodur vimasha patayani jamaya yedam srishtva gunan vibhajate tadanupravishtaha tasmai namo tadavabodha vihara tantra samsara chakra gatehe parameshwaraya. I offer my obeisance unto him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who creates this universe by the inconceivable activity of his material energy, and then distributes the various modes of nature by entering within the creation. From him, the meaning of whose pastimes is unfathomable, come both the entangling cycle of birth and death and the process of deliverance from it. Purport. When all is said and done, Dhritarashtra was not an ordinary person, but an associate of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Certainly an ordinary person could not offer such a learned hymn to the Lord. Sri Shuka Uvacha. I'm sorry. Sorry. Ityabi pretya nirpater abhiprayam sayadavaha surunbi samanhu gyata punar yadupurim agat. Shukadeva Goswami said, having thus apprised himself of the king's attitude, Akrura, the descendant of Yadu, took permission from his well-wishing relatives and friends and returned to the capital of the Yadavas. Shasangsa Rama Krishnabhyam Dhritarashtra Vicheshtitam Pandavan Patikoravya Yadartam Presita Swayam. Akrura reported to Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna how Dhritarashtra was behaving toward the Pandavas. Thus, O descendant of the Kurus, he fulfilled the purpose for which he had been sent. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 49th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Akrura's Mission in Hastinapur. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So somehow the two classes I gave here are winding up both of the chapters, and we can have a little summary of this one as well. So, if you may recall, Akrura was sent to Hastinapur by Krishna at the end of chapter 48 in order to reconnoiter, in order to find out what's going on with Krishna's dear devotees, the Pandavas, and their beloved mother Kunti. He had heard, Krishna had heard, that Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, they were not treating them properly, and there was all kinds of trouble. So he wanted Dhritarashtra to go, Akrura to go there, and he did. And when he went there, he was greeted by all the residents, and he talked to Dhritarashtra. He remained there for several months, and then Kunti and Vidura was also there, and he described to Akrura what was going on. And so he could have left at that point. He had full knowledge of what was going on, but he wanted to also visit with Kunti Devi and see what he could do with Dhritarashtra, see if he could turn his mind, just as Vidura gave him so much good advice, so Akrura is going to give him some good advice. So shortly near the beginning of the chapter, we get these wonderful prayers and statements from Queen Kunti. And it's interesting that she first asked, before expressing herself and her plight, she asked for the welfare of her friends who were living in Dwarka. How do my parents, brothers, sisters, nephews, family, women, and girlhood friends still remember us? And then she starts expressing her suffering. And she's saying, will Krishna come and save us? Does he also think of us? And before she gets, after two verses, she's addressing Krishna directly. This is a symptom of the highest devotion, is that in the intensity of the emotion, they feel the very presence of Krishna. Even though he may be thousands of miles away, they feel he's directly before them. And so in text number 11, she's offering a prayer. Krishna, Krishna, O great yogi, O supreme soul, Govinda, please protect me who have surrendered to you. I and my sons are being overwhelmed by trouble. We find this in the gopis' songs in the Venu Gita chapter 21, when every day Krishna would go out and the gopis would pine for him like anything at home while they're doing their duties. And so we get this two chapters actually that are very similar, 21 and 35, in which the gopis are singing of Krishna in the forest. And at a certain point, they feel like they're right next to Krishna. They say this famous verse, which I like to chant in front of the Krishna Balaram here, Hantaya Madhya Bala Haridasya Varyo. Some of you may be familiar with this. This is about Govardhan Hill. So they're saying, oh, how wonderful it is. Hanta, I am Adrir. This hill is the best servant of Krishna. Hantaya Madhya Bala Haridasya Varyo. But how is this hill? They're back in Braj, and Govardhan is like a whole bus ride away, remember? Yeah, it's a far away, but they're feeling like they're right there with Krishna. So the same thing is here with Queen Kunti. She addresses him personally, and she asks for his protection. And of course, as this was pointed out very nicely, the prayers we find in the first canto, she's explaining there to Krishna directly that when we were in great distress, we felt your presence, so intimately that I'd rather have the distress. Now the war is over and we're nicely situated here. My son Yudhishthira is the king and the Pandavas are ruling. But let those dangers happen again and again. Vibhadak dakshaswad tattva tattva jagad guru bhavatu darshanam yaksara punar bhavadarshanam. He's saying that let those dangers happen again and again, because by seeing the dangers, we will see you. And by seeing you, we will not have to see birth and death again. It's very poetic. So this is the great benefit of praying to Krishna for shelter, who's really the only shelter, is that he's always available. He's everywhere. He's all-pervading. And therefore, at any moment, when we feel danger or stress, we can call out to him with deep emotion, and we'll feel relief. We'll feel his protection. The problem is that we look for other ways of material ways of solving our material problems. And there are no solutions. There are no material solutions to the material problems. As Prahlad says, dukkha aushadam tadapi dukkam. The solutions we concoct for our miseries are the source of more misery. So she goes on, and then Akrura shared Queen Kunti's distress. He's very empathetic. He's soft-hearted Vaishnav. And both he and Vidura consoled Queen Kunti and reminds her that her sons are not ordinary and that they'll come out victorious in the end. So then we turn to Dhritarashtra. This is from the middle of the chapter here, text 16. And it's directly said that his problem, was his overwhelming affection and attachment to his sons. And this is a theme. If you associate or become attached to, this word sangha means both association and attachment. So sangat sanjayate kama, what you associate with evokes attachment. This is in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. So Dhritarashtra was super attached to these 100 sons of his. And that meant that he was keyed in to wherever they were at. So Duryodhana was just a nasty person. He was ready to kill the Pandavas in order to get that throne. It was right, it was right in his grasp. He felt it so close because his father was meant to be just the temporary king, right? But he's still the king at this time. So now's my chance of being the king of the world. This is what Duryodhana was thinking. So he had all kinds of intrigues, and his father went along with it because of his attachment. And yet we find, so Akrura is giving him very strong words, just as Vidura does. He says, if you act religiously, protect the earth, deal equitably with everyone, including the Pandavas as well as your sons, then you will achieve success and glory. But if you don't, you will be condemned in this world and you go to hell. Basically, he said you're going to pave your way to a hellish existence. And then he described very important, good philosophy, that these relationships we have with our friends, our family, anyone, are temporary. They're not permanent. We cannot place everything and our complete attention and effort on those relationships. We know the whole point of Krishna consciousness is that our main relationship is with Krishna, you see, and with Krishna's representatives, those who are helping us reestablish that relationship with Krishna. So, and he's saying that Akrura is instructing that these dependents of yours, namely your sons, are going to steal everything away from you, even your life. Just as in ordinary course of events, and we see as Akuti Mata was saying so nicely, that when there's some inheritance to be had, all bets are off, right? Then all the friendship between the family members can be turned to just the opposite. I remember a friend of mine, I won't mention his name, he lived in California for years, he's a devotee, because his mother was ill, and she had some property. But he knew that his siblings were going to take it right away unless he was there to monitor the whole situation, so he could use it for Krishna. So this is what happens. So he's giving him very good advice here. Look upon the world as a dream, a magician's illusion, or flight of fancy. Control your mind and intelligence, and become equipoised and peaceful. And equipoised means to treat everyone equally, including the Pandavas. So then we get to today's verse. Now, Dhritarashtra is kind of what you would call, in other contexts, a tragic figure. Here we see that basically he understands the truth of this matter. He understands the truth of bhakti and all of these things. But he's so addicted to his son's happiness that he can't act on what he knows to be right. And this calls to mind a wonderful verse in a prayer of Prahlad to Nrsingadev. And I definitely relate to this verse. So he says, Kutrashisha Shusi Sukha Mrigatrishni Rupam Kvedam Kalevadam Asheshuda Jambiroha Nirvidyade Natujano Tadapiti Vidban Kaman Alam Modulavai Shamayang Durapai. So what Prahlad is saying there is, Kutrashisha, what are the use? What is the real value of all of these material aspirations? Shruti Sukha, it's just a question of hearing about it. That's where the pleasure is. Once you finally get it, then it's gone behind you. Then you can lament that you lost it. But all of this anticipation, Shruti Sukha. Can we please control the child a little bit? I know he's very enthusiastic. Shruti Sukha, Mrigatrishni Rupa, exactly what Kura is saying. This theme comes up again and again. It has the nature of a mirage, the Mrigatrishni, what the deer thirsts after, what the animal thirsts after, foolish animal. In other words, there's some water. As I remember I drove to Tucson recently from San Diego in the desert. And again and again, you'd see the water on the road. You have these mirages. Here, the same thing, when it gets really hot. But there's no water there. So if you're really foolish, the foolish animal, he goes for that water. So we're going for the mirage of material happiness. But it's always slipping through our fingers. You get to it and it's not there anymore. That's the idea. So, Mrigatrishni Rupa, Kvedam Kalevana. And is this body really a good, vehicle for enjoying? What? Kvedam Kalevana, Masheshura Jambiroha. It is a repository of all kinds of diseases. When you're young and healthy, you get this illusion that you can enjoy forever, But as you get older, you realize it's not happening. Your ability to squeeze out enjoyment from this body, it becomes more and more absurd, It's just not a proper, the soul is imprisoned in the body. It's not a place of happiness. So Prahlad is giving this knowledge. But then he says something very interesting. Said, Nirvidyate natujano tadabiti vidvan. Even a vidvan, someone who's wise, like Dhritarashtra, and understands the truth of this, still cannot cease. Nirvidyate na tujano. It doesn't make, nirvidyate means detached, means vairagya. Detachment, dispassion. Because kamaladam modalavaishyamyang darapai. Because one gets wrapped up in very difficult work to get the honey-like drops of sense gratification to extinguish the kama-analam. Who can say what kama-analam is in Janmashtami? Very simple. Kama-analam. Huh? Fire. Analam, not amritam. Analam. The fire of material desire is always burning. It's never satiated, right? And so we're trying to get that little sense gratification to extinguish it. And in the process of doing that, we become unable to even follow the things that our intelligence may tell us is right. This is the situation of the person who knows but is too much wrapped up with sense gratification. So that's Dhritarashtra's situation. He gives his prayer. Of course, Vishwanath Chakravarti gives a little other understanding of it, But then this prayer, I offer my obeisances unto him, Lord Krishna, And ultimately we remember that Dhritarashtra will become detached after the whole battle is over and his attachment is crushed, all the sons are killed. can you just imagine the pain of that he and Gandhari were feeling from that, you know. So in that situation of extreme suffering, he was more open to practically the same instructions Vidura was giving him, right? When he came back. Because now he's saying, your liver is getting weak, you're about to die, you know, it's a shameless situation here. You're eating scraps from the table of those whom you tried to kill, you know? And Bhima is still fuming, you know. He killed all 100 sons, as he said he would, you know. And here it is, Dhritarashtra is living in the home of the people who killed his sons. You could see it's a crazy situation. Just for that little comfort of old age, you know, he was just covered. So Vidura just cut the attachment, and he did leave at that point. And this reminds me of another very important verse. This idea of detachment, how to really embrace it. You know, I think in one place it says, the goddess of Vairagya, you know, to embrace. There's one verse I'll share with you about that. So, in the 11th canto, I forget the chapter, I think it's 14, there's the Ila Gita, or maybe that's a little later, I think maybe 20. Ila is another name for Pururava. Pururava, if you recall, became very attached to, what was the name of the guy? Urvashi. The guy, you know, very beautiful. We can't even imagine. The goddess is sent down from the heavenly planets to attract him. And so he became super attached. Of course, she left him, you know, in the lurch. I don't go into the whole story. But still the attachment was there. You know, so he performed sacrifices. She's back on the heavenly planets. Finally, he can be with her one day a year, you know, and he goes through all of this thing. And finally, in the 11th canto, he has the Song of Renunciation. It's called the Ila Gita. He says, am I really better than the worm and stool? You know, trying to enjoy this body, some worm in my body, you know, I'm trying to enjoy the body, so is the worm, you know. And it's very strong, you know. And at the end of that, Krishna, he gives like a summary of the instruction to Uddhava as part of the Uddhava Gita. So one of the verses there, which is quoted right in the first chapter of the Adi Leela about the Guru, it's all about spiritual masters. He says, Tato duk sangam utsrija satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa evasa chindanti manovyasangam uktibi. This is exactly pertinent to this Akura's relationship here and Vidura's, which comes later chronologically, but earlier in the Bhagavatam. So, what does it say? Krishna says, therefore, one has to give up duk sangam utsrija, not just give it up, throw it away. You know, far distant, bad association. Duk Sangam. That association which encourages your mode of passion, your material desires, which makes you forget Krishna. Right? The opposite of sadhu sangha. Give it up, far away. And satsu sajjeta buddhiman, who has to be intelligent, one who is intelligent, and associate with devotees, the saints. Satsu sajjeta buddhiman. Because santa, literally saints, santa evasya chindanti mano vyasagam uktibi. By their words, their strong words, these saints can cut off your very powerful attachments in the mind. The vyasanga, mano vyasangam, you see, by their words. And this is what Srila Prabhupada did, you know. He attracted us with Krishna, you know, and Krishna Prasadam and Krishna, you know, the name and the festivals and everything about Krishna is so attractive. And at the same time, he did not mince words about the need for following the regular principles, giving up sense gratification. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partamanogata. Right at the beginning of the Gita, second chapter. How to become steady. Give up all these sense gratifications that arise from the mind. So that both of those things have to be there. You know, is Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Lord Chaitanya's movement is based on this principle. And how to get the strength to cut off these attachments is through, you know, being brave enough to associate, you know, submissive all reception, ardent hearing of the words of the great devotees who are situated in that attachment and knowledge and love for Krishna. So Dhritarashtra, he wasn't, he couldn't accept the instruction here of Kura. Finally, he did a Vidura later on. But he's confessing. He says, I'm never satiated. Of course, Vishwanath was talking, but he's seeing the nectar of the good instructions. And what was the good instructions? He basically got chastised heavily by Akrura, but he's seeing that as nectar. When we can see the very heavy parts of the Bhagavatam as equally nectarian as the Venu Gita, then we can see that we're making some advancement. Otherwise, the tendency sometimes is the Ardha Kukati Nyaya. You've heard of the Ardha Kukati Nyaya? The logic of half a hen. Once there was a foolish farmer who had a hen, which is nicely giving eggs. Sometimes they said he was giving golden eggs. And he was thinking, oh, I'm getting all of these wonderful eggs, but I have to feed the hen, and that's costing me money. I have to buy feed, I have to get it. So I'll cut off the head, which I have to feed, and I'll just get the eggs from the hen. They got nothing. Similarly, when we try to just accept or focus on the parts of the Shastra that we find pleasing, but not, the fifth canto, the forest of enjoyment, or Ila Gita, or things like that, then we're not going to get the benefit. Both have to be there. Both have to be there. And because to really taste the full nectarine, as Prabhupada would say, of Krishna consciousness, we have to develop and proceed in our vairagya, in this detachment. So in that context, I'd like to share with you a verse that was taught to me by Mahavishnu Maharaj, the elder. And it's the perfect context for this verse. I had some wonderful association with him. He would visit San Diego quite often. And I first met him on the Prasadam line in Vrindavan. I don't think he was sannyasi at that time. It was like early 90s. And we were standing there, and as I do many times when I'm, have that kind of environment, I said, would you like to hear a nice shloka? And he said, yeah, and he pulled out a little pad. No one ever else does that. He wanted to take it down because he wanted to learn it, So I shared some verse from the Krishna Karnamrita or something, and then he shared this verse with me, which I didn't have a pad, but I eventually learned it. And I put it in a little poem. So the verse goes like this. Deheshti mangsa dudide mimatam cha jasva jaya sutari cha satam matam vimuncha pashyani sham jagaditam chanabanga tishtam vairagya raga rasiko bhavabhakti nishtam. It says like this. Don't love the body, just a bag of flesh and blood and bone. Give up your sense of ownership for spouse and kids and home. At every moment, see that your world totters on destruction. Become detached and learn to love the Lord without obstruction. So this is the last line. I couldn't do justice to the last line. Vairagya raga. Get raga. Get attached to detachment. You see? Become attached to becoming detached from this world. But of course we know you can't do that in a vacuum. Become attached to Krishna. If you just try to give up the objects of detachment, the desire will be there, and in a certain environment, the attachment will blaze up again. But if you param drishva, if you see the Supreme, Radha Shama Sundar, and you serve and you become attached to them, then you can really become fixed in detachment. So this is from the Padma Purana, he told me. So this is the mood of Lord Chaitanya's followers, is to cultivate that strong mood of detachment and from matter and attachment to Krishna. They go together. And the more that we can do that, we'll feel so much enlivenment in the Kirtan, in the deities, in the devotee association. We'll immediately appreciate, oh, here's another Vaishnava, here's another Vaishnavi. We can share realizations, we can chant verses, we can read Krishna book together, let's go to Mangalarti, whatever. Let's go on Harinam, whatever. This is the relationships of devotees. So rare in this world. How many of us are there really? Are there 1 million devotees in the world? That's nothing. There's 7 billion human souls walking around on this earth. So how rare it is to see it and be able to associate with devotees. And time is going so quickly. Us old timers, our sands are almost run out. So we should take, every drop of good association we can get. Don't waste any time. This is one of the symptoms of advancement in devotional service. So, that's what I wanted to share with you today. If there are any comments or questions on these verses, we can entertain them. Do we have the mic available? Yes, you're first. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for that. We were talking about this the other day, Dhritarashtra's relationship with Krishna, because one of the purports was saying that he's not just an average guy because he's associating with Krishna, but he had this weird relationship that he knew who Krishna was, but still he just, I love my sons. And
Yeah.
So how can we understand such a person, that he's an associate of Krishna, but he's so dense in some ways?
We've seen in more modern contexts that it doesn't necessarily follow. I mean, even Advaita's sons, some of his sons did not follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were, they didn't become pure devotees of Lord Chaitanya. And we even saw with Srila Prabhupada's own son, tried to soothe the movement. So the living entity always has that freedom. Or what was that, Krishnadas, who became spirited away by the Bhattataris, you remember? And Lord Chaitanya had to drag him by his hair, bring him back. So, and our philosophy as given to us by Srila Prabhupada is that even in the spiritual world, we still have that freedom to withhold our love from Krishna. That's what it means to be tatastha shakti. We're tatastha. We're eternally in that, able to be influenced. So we don't want to be influenced. Now, hopefully, once burned, twice shy. This is the way Prabhupada, developed. We've got a good lesson. Do we all have a good time here in the material world? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Let's go back to Godhead, and we won't come back again. But the lesson we get from Dhritarashtra is that if you allow yourself to become too attached, too much involved in this material world, then it becomes extremely difficult. Even though you have association of great devotees or Krishna himself, that can keep dragging you away to sinful activity. It's a situation, we see that in other contexts also. So, but we see also ultimately he was exalted. We don't say he went back to Godhead. I don't think we say it like that, but he got a very higher, situation away from this material world. Who was second? I don't know. Okay, in the back there. We have a few minutes. Go ahead.
I want to just share something, then ask a question.
Yeah.
I received an email, I think it was yesterday morning. It says that, part of the email says that for those who have surrendered their body, minds, and words in the service of Krishna are complete losers. Why? Because they lose frustration, attachment, and bondage to this material world. So my question, Prabhu, is that with the way Dhritarashtra was presenting himself, well, I'm conscious of these things, but yet I can't quite give them up. For us, can we see that as a good gesture, at least a starting point of our spiritual life, that he at least recognized?
Well, I don't think we want to, become followers of Dhritarashtra.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a cautionary. I see this as a cautionary, episode. Is that he allowed himself to get so wrapped up and attached to his affection for his sons that even the best association couldn't penetrate that, until he finally was smashed like anything. Until finally he realized, what am I doing here? I have whatever breaths left I have, and let me engage in some kind of self-realization, because he went to the forest. So, rather, I see this as I said, like a cautionary tale. I mean, how many lessons do we need? The cleaning of the Gundicha temple. If you read that, when you read that pastime in the Madhya Lila, it's very illuminating. And at the end of the whole pastime is a wonderful long purport, mostly quoted from Bhaktisiddhanta, I believe, his commentary. And it's described how even after cleaning the temple of the heart, and being situated nicely in devotional service, but not on, prema bhakti, but steady, say nishta, maybe a little asakti, ruchi, you have to be very careful because those attachments can arise again if you're not very vigilant. If you become weak in your sadhana and your association, offenses, to devotees, and they can cut down much on your taste for the holy name and for association, and again, those things can rise up. So this is the way Dhritarashtra is a perfect example of someone who's so fixed, in his material. Matyuna Krishna Padadaksvatova. He's almost like that, even though he's not, Hiranyakashipu type demon, although even he was a devotee ultimately, right? But in no way, no how. If you're a Danta Gobir, if your senses are out of control and again and again chewing the chewed, then you're in that situation of kama ananam. You're trying to put out the lust fire with these drops of nectar. And even though your intelligence, you may know the philosophy, you can't act on it. It's a very painful situation. And to one degree or another, many of us are, fighting with that. We know. I mean, there's no mystery. But still, attachments are there that we can't give up. All right, Trivikram was next. And then Vaikuntha.
So there's this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, I don't remember the Sanskrit, but if a man of intelligence acts according to his own nature, what can repression accomplish?
Yeah.
See, I think this kind of fits. But also this could affect us to some degree too, or this could apply to us to some degree too.
You're talking about this verse now you just mentioned?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this may be the mind working. The mind saying, 4 regular principles? It's impossible. We've had devotees say that. It's impossible. It's the necessities of life, right? I mean, one of our earliest devotees, he was editing the BTG for a while. At the very beginning. And eventually he left because this necessities of life, sex life. Prabhupada is, your intelligence will come up. This is repression. It says right in the Gita here, what will repression accomplish? Let me, let it go out, That's not what that's all about, The idea is that we have certain qualities, so within Varnashram Dharma, we have a certain role to play, so let's play it within the context of Krishna consciousness. That's fine. There's family life, there's all of these different things, concessions. But in all of these stages, there's restriction, when, how much, right? Because the whole focus, you have to accept the goal of your life, is to be Krishna conscious and go back to God and regain that. So that's a different, but the idea, as mentioned in one of the purports we read, is that, the intelligence is always trying to, make some excuse. It's not my fault, I was abused, and I wasn't trained properly, and and all of these different things. Therefore, I did this, and this. So it's not my fault. It's something else, But how come you've been abused? That's your karma also from a previous life, And Krishna never accepts. It's definitely not Krishna's fault, right? We read that in the purpose. So we have a process, the Sankirtan movement, which is so powerful if we take it to heart and fully participate. And that's why I was this was back in San Diego, I was saying, it's chanting and dancing, that's part of the process of congregational chanting of the holy name and dancing, I mean, not to put down at all, the long sit-down kirtans that we have. But let's not forget the dancing. Why? Because that's the body working. You're using your legs, your arms, everything. Otherwise, the body's going to be giving you so many messages. Right? It's coming up. It comes up from the mind. All of these, Krishna says, manogatan. So the mind, the body, you're going to be, it can be overwhelming. So the idea is that this is the Yoga Dharma. It's the chanting and dancing, as shown by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And not I don't want to just emphasize that. All the aspects of our being have to be body, mind, and words. Rid Vagva Pubhi Vidadan Namaste. to see whatever evil comes upon us, oh, I'm too conditioned, I can't follow anymore. No, that doesn't, that means you don't have faith in Krishna to empower you, even in our condition, low condition and heavy conditioning, to follow Krishna consciousness. This was Prabhupada's prayer. We just read it, right, when he came to America. That let my power of speaking be that they can take up this, because I don't see how they're going to do it. They're saturated most of passion and ignorance. So the idea is that faith in Srila Prabhupada had faith in the holy name, the purifying aspect of it, the empowering aspect. And that faith was imparted to disciples, and it's still being imparted to followers, anyone who associates through the words of Srila Prabhupada. And if we take full shelter, then no matter where we're coming from, we can become detached and become attracted to Krishna, if we fully take shelter of the holy name. Who's next? Boy, there's a lot of comments. I think Janmashtami, you were first, and then Pran, and then we'll go on this side.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Oh, Vaikuntha, go ahead, Vaikuntha.
It was just this discussion of Dhritarashtra on a personal level was kind of reminding me of part of the 10th offense to not maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. So when we do that, are we kind of going into the Dhritarashtra bhav sort of? Is that
Dhritarashtra vacha, huh? Well, there's a question of degree, that what's speaking there is that, okay, maintaining material attachments, that means we're offending the holy name. To the degree that we're maintaining the attachments and engaging in it, then to that degree we'll have less and less ability to chant or a taste for chanting. The holy name is a person, it's Krishna. And it blesses you with taste and realization to the degree that you're avoiding the offenses. So this offense is, very significant. And it definitely just slows us up. It's like the anchor in the rowboat. We know the story. And you don't really go anywhere, you may go a few inches, you may go a few feet, but you want to go miles and miles. So, yeah, to the degree that we're maintaining those attachments and not trying to give them up, to that degree that our progress will be slowed up. But we're not, Dhritarashtra is like an acute case, he's totally involved in that, and you don't hear about him chanting Hare Krishna so much. Yes.
Prabhu, you were talking about how Prabhupada's own sons, his wife, they didn't really follow, what he wanted, and then there's the instruction Lord Rishabdev gives to his sons, Guru Nasashat, Swajano Nasashat, Pita Nasashat, Janani Nasashat. So, it seems that a lot of parents within ISKCON are faced with this dilemma. I took this responsibility on and bringing a soul into this world, and I'm responsible to deliver him. And then what we see is that sometimes it's a failing of our movement, that we didn't actually society-wise or society-wide, accommodate that facility, that a soul needs, It's kind of just the opposite. And so it puts a parent in kind of a dilemma of, but it seems, I'm thinking a bit out loud here, and then I'm looking for your wisdom.
I wish I had some.
Well, just like Prabhupada, he got to a certain point where he just said, okay, enough, it's not working, bye-bye. So what I'm wondering, and it almost seems like Rishabdev's instructions, is it kind of on a Varnashram platform, that it's not, or does it go further than that? Is it something that should be, come hell or high water, I got my responsibility. Prabhupada, he drew the line, at a certain point.
Yeah.
Tea or me, and so I'll take the tea and bye-bye.
Right. Well, I think you have to balance that instruction with the understanding that every living entity is a free soul, has independence. So the way I see it is that, you should not become, let's say just take one of those things, you should not become a father or a mother unless you can deliver your dependence from birth and death. Well, you don't know that. I mean, I know it's a risk, Then, but all you can do is try your best, right? In other words, you accept the responsibility. Okay, we're going to maintain a Krishna conscious household as best we can, and when in time we'll bring them to the temple and train them and as best you can. And if you honestly do that, then I think you're meeting that injunction of that verse. It's not that you violated it if you don't do as best you can in that regard. Because every living entity, and the other thing, as you mentioned, you're not in control of all the influences on the child or the wife or the husband or anyone, right? In other words, you, to a certain extent, of course, as a child first grows up, most of the influence, overwhelmingly, mother and father, But as they grow up, then they get, there's the brothers, and then they go to school, and then there's the internet, and then there's the texting, and then there's all of that. You can't control all that. Probably every one of you knows that a lot better than I do, So how can you say, oh, I failed, I didn't meet Vishal Basic, but you did all you could do. Look at Vena. He wasn't born into a bad family. Of course, there was some influence from his mother, on the mother's side. But what was it? Anga? I think it was Anga. He eventually said, that's it. I can't do any more with this boy. I'm leaving home. And he was just incorrigible. He was incorrigible. So I think that in the modern context, that in every case, when you do your sincere best until the person, whoever it may be, has their own mind and their own will and their own independence and they're making their own decisions, then you're not, you didn't fail, And the hard part is, this is the hard part, as we see with Dhritarashtra, because you still have this blood attachment. You have a bodily attachment there, and yet this person can be a bad influence on your other, people who you have. Say the brothers or sisters. I've seen that also in ISKCON. So it's a complicated thing. It certainly didn't work out as we had dreamed when the Gurukul was started in 1971 and 72, and I think Prabhupada hoped. There have been so many factors, and I think the main factor has been just the overwhelming, power of the influence of the outside world. That's part of it, is that you cannot control all these influences that come on the children or anything else. You can do your best to give them a strong foundation of Krishna consciousness, to defend against that. But it's very difficult when those senses are, and it's almost like a genetic thing. A child breaks away from the parents at a certain age. Unfortunately, the parents are Krishna conscious, and the child wants to try something else, and they can get into trouble. So, forgive me, I'm not, directly involved in that on a personal level, but I've seen over the years, and as you say, the society also failed to a large degree, but this is part of what we're learning in this verse. You can't use it as an excuse, You can't say, well, ISKCON blew it, therefore my responsibility is over. We still have to do the best we can to make our associates as Krishna conscious as we can. This, I think, can go on a long time. You decide, Keshava, when we have to cut it off.
One more.
All right. I'm sorry we didn't get to the ladies. Now I'm really in trouble.
I'll just got one quick comment on that. One of my interests is in the Amish as a sort of parallel community. And, there's a lot of statistics on them. And for instance, this idea of the retention rate of the young people, they're given 1 year to make up their mind whether they want to be baptized as an Amish. And it turns out 4 out of 5 of them decide that they do. So it would be interesting to study quite why that is. That's a pretty high retention rate. Yeah. And that's a good number to work from. So in other words, it can be done. And they have a particular, the issue about keeping out the outside world. That's why they don't use electricity, so that it doesn't come in. There's no TV and internet and stuff like that. So, that's a model of a community that concentrates on the community itself. This is what they care, everything they do. That's why they use horses, so they can't go too far.
Yeah, but the main difference is, and this may sound flippant, but when you think about it, and then we'll stop here. They don't have, at least number one, of the 4 regulative principles. And that's a big deal. Illicit sex life. That's unlimited with your wife and everything. That's fine. That it makes it a whole different ballgame. Yeah, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol.